Disclaimer Opinions. Welcome back, boys, to another episode of MenelReviews. And today we'll be covering a topic that's pretty trendy in Roblox right now surrounding a game called Dead Rails. There's also this narrative that people pushes out saying that Dead Rails is a better version of a Dusty Trip, or just better, and the common reason why it's better is because it isn't quote unquote pay to win. I have played both games, and to be honest, both feel the same when you really boil it down. Not that they're carbon copies of each other, but if you're someone who prefers to not rot on video games, they all feel the same, even with different mechanics. But before we go over that, let's understand these games first. First of all, a Dusty Trip is a game sort of ripped off from a Steam game called The Long Drive. You spawn in with an unfinished dirty car, a few food items, a jerry can, and parts for you to attach to the car. Once you've done at least the bare minimum, which is making the car functional, you drive in a single direction for hours while collecting food and fuel from buildings. This game has enemies that mainly consist of a brown zombie with a goofy face that's actually called mutants. The other enemies include other types of mutants, like sprinters, buffs, and many more, and a vampire. So, in summary, you spawn in and assemble the car, drive down the road in one direction for as long as you want, or if you want to reach a certain location. But the game doesn't artificially end your run at a certain distance, really. And for Dead Rails, it's pretty original with its mechanics. You spawn in some camp with a finished vehicle called a train, and you start with a gold bar that you can sell for money to buy stuff like fuel, weapons, and even armor. There are no self-sustenance systems to watch out for. You just need enough coal or other fuel items to power your train up until you reach 80,000 meters. There are obstacles that you need to face in order to either keep going or to get loot. You can get fuel items, valuables, or junk as loot, or combinations of one and another, and vice versa. So these are pretty different, right? Yes, the surface short-term gameplay is pretty different. Fighting the enemies in a dusty trip is not annoying as hell and doesn't require some kind of method to deal with them. In Dead Rails, since you drive a train, you end up holding W until you find a building or a town to loot from. In a dusty trip, the vehicles that you can drive here are cars, mostly, that allows you to drive anywhere, but it's not recommended that you do that since you go on a single path. And yes, most people watching this will offer a lot more objections than that regarding difference, but I guarantee you none of them debunks my view of both of these games as fundamentally the same. Both of these have the same formula. Both are survival games where you have to drive for miles, really time consuming, no checkpoints, no saves, and one life. And sure, a game with that formula can make me like it, as in enjoying it with new unique mechanics, but the repetitiveness of holding W until you reach some location with buildings or places to stop by for self-sustenance and fuel ultimately makes the game pretty boring. Just because one game has a lot of game passes, it doesn't make it a bad game. Game passes only become a problem if it hinders, slows down, or make a massive difference in progressing. The most obvious example here are simulator game passes, where if you don't buy something that speeds up the grind, then you'll be subjected with super long, repetitive, and arduous grinding. I mean, sure, you can only get faster cars if you buy it, but it doesn't make too much of a difference to me because you can hit gas in some sports car and go super fast, but it'll still screw you up, so you're still forced to slow and drive carefully, unless you get a helicopter and just fly over every obstacle. But the reason games are even fun is that they have little challenges here and there that doesn't make it too easy. So skipping every obstacle kind of removes the point of a survival game. It's the same with those gun game passes that create huge effects. It makes it too easy. Dead Rails doesn't even have those kind of game passes in the first place. But it wouldn't really matter much to me if they added those since most of them are either cosmetic slop or things that remove the challenge of the game. Although I'll admit, yes, Dead Rails is a bit better for a few reasons that I'll go over soon, but it's still as boring as a dusty trip. It is still really time consuming and repetitive once you learn the easy fit all method to deal with the enemies, and it is generally boring and burns you out if you don't like to run video games and have nothing else to do. This game still has a noticeable amount of things done better than a dusty trip. First of all, the lore is pretty cool. It's set in a historical setting with zombies, but has a completely different gameplay from the Gus and Black Powder formula, with again, an interesting story. Even 1045 Hours Vitality made a mapping video about it. Over it, Dusty trips different lore theories that I could care less about. Secondly, the face spreads of the zombies in Dead Rails are way better than the mutants. That should be obvious by now. Thirdly, the system of picking up objects, rotating them, and welding is better. Both games give you a backpack item for you to store items in. The difference here is that there isn't a failure animation for opening and closing. Fourthly, while Dead Rails do have extremely annoying enemies that kills you with no way out, like the werewolf if you don't have a gun or that you run out of fuel, at least it doesn't have these events like a thunderstorm with lightning that instantly kills you if you step outside your car. You have to stay in there until the sky clears. And now you can't just keep going because the game decides when you drive the car in a thunderstorm, a lightning strike hits your car and ruins it, consuming even more time for an event that barely impacts the gameplay at all. And now, everyone's favorite part, the rating. So, Dead Rails gets a 3 out of 10 for being bearable for a short while and having better mechanics, although ultimately it becomes unbearingly repetitive. A Dusty Trip gets a 2 out of 10, a -1 score, a little less bearable but still doable for a short while, but ends up being equally repetitive and boring like Dead Rails. So, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you like it or don't, and subscribe for weekly content covering games. Menlogs out. So, these two are pretty different, right? Yes, the servers